Hello and welcome back to the Weekend Spread, the Schooner Pod's weekly college football pick'em podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me today, our just our panelist of pickers. We've got Jameson Maxwell, Ty Lee, and Bowton Blake sailing on in. And look, Blake, last time we gave you the floor because you had an incredible week. So we're going to kick it right back to you. Look, you went 1-9 last week, buddy. This is like the second time in 2 years this has happened where you have a great week and then immediately. What the hell, man? What happened?
I was going to say it's the verbal meme of guy stepping on rake near 500 record, and then the guy doing the kick flip with the rake over the staircase, 9-1, 1-9, 500 records. Like, that's what it's destined to be on this pod. That is what I got. I don't even know. Like, I don't feel like I was that wrong this week. I felt like I had some good reads. Like, sure, there were some bad ones here or there, but none of the games seemed like complete blowouts besides maybe Arkansas, besides maybe Arizona State. It just felt like I was there. OU, I felt like would have covered if it wasn't for 21 points immediately in the first 5 minutes of the game. That sunk me. So it felt like I was on the right track. It's just some fluky stuff started happening, and I ended up on the wrong side of things. So
I don't know, Blake. I don't think you can turn the Michigan and Nebraska picks that we had.
Nebraska was bad. Michigan, the good thing is it's like with Indiana, it's a fine loss. Like, I want them to be successful. I thought they were going to win with the close one, but I'm glad for the blowout. I'm fine to bury Michigan. I'm fine to never talk about them for the rest of the season. That team stinks. Like, they are coming off of like TCU levels bad season after a national championship. Maybe even worse, because TCU, you're hoping for the blueprint of a once-in-a-generation just talent rush that you're able to push forward. Michigan is supposed to be reloading every year, and yet they are in the doldrums. Like, they are in the doldrums of the Big Ten. They don't even look like they belong in that league. Like, I know people were looking up Sharon Moore's buyout. It's less than $10 million if they want to get out of this contract in a year, which I think they should go find a legitimate head coach. But yeah. It was a weird week, but one that was very entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, overall with just college football in general, having, third Saturday of October being as crazy as it was with Tennessee getting a win there. And then obviously Texas, Georgia was, look, I'm just saying, I felt like Texas was a paper tiger. They hadn't really faced anybody that tough. And, I think Georgia went in and completely humbled them. And, I mean, just what an embarrassing performance for the team, for the fans, just a brutal night for the Longhorns. And it's just it's so perfect that they have the, like, Ty, like, I feel like you said something similar, like something pretty good about it on it, in the group chat. Just what a flop.
Yeah, it was. Although I did pick Texas, obviously, and I did sincerely think that they were going to kind of embarrass Georgia in that one. It was very obvious that, we had just completely forgotten that Georgia is still Georgia, and Texas, maybe not the world beaters that they thought, or that we thought that they were, or we as in the general consensus across college football, not particularly this podcast, but it was kind of beautiful as an OU fan. And this is, I don't recall my exact words, but something along the lines of, it was kind of beautiful as an OU fan to see Texas have this moment in the sun, this moment where all eyes were on them. The media was pushing this, so many celebrities there and everything else. And really they had such immense, just a title of support behind them, and then just showing that they have no idea what to do with it. They are not a serious program still, as much as they try to make themselves seem. Their fans, going crazy and just being ridiculous. They're, they were not prepared for the game. Wishy-washy back and forth on quarterbacks in a game is, certainly a move that we have some thoughts on as OU fans as well. But Stupid. It was kind of beautiful to see, because it wasn't just although it does have tremendous rematch potential with our current setup in college football, it didn't really seem like oh, okay, like this was a tough, hard-fought battle. It seemed like Georgia was legitimately the better team in every way, and Georgia seemed like they knew where they were and they had been there before. And Texas, for as much as they make of themselves, sure seemed like they had never been in that position before and didn't know how to act.
Benching Quinn Ewers is so stupid. I understand.
What was that gonna do?
What is it gonna do? All it is, it's just created this horrible scenario. Now people are doubting Quinn. People think that he should be benched and he's not going to. And then 247 gets hacked, quotes, hacked. And all of a sudden, Quinn Ewers having to say things are fake news. And honestly, I don't like what's going on at Texas now. They had great momentum. Even if they lost this game versus Georgia, I'd still feel good about them for the rest of the season. The whole benching of Quinn Ewers and now this stuff going out, it just makes me feel weird.
You've got to commit to one thing. I mean, OU is obviously, we are not ones to throw stones in this glass house, but you have to commit one way or another. If you're going to bench the guy, then you got to be like, okay,
bench him. Yeah.
We're taking him out. We're not putting the other guy in for 4 drives.
That was so stupid.
It was like less than that.
It was like, throw off the rhythm.
It was just right before halftime.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was 2 drives. He did the exact same thing that Ewers did, and then they put Ewers back in again. Like, what did they expect?
They're like they talk at halftime. They're like, we made a mistake. We probably shouldn't have done that. That's going to be bad for the rest of the season.
I don't know. No takebacks. Not good. They didn't have the right data points for that, though. Not after 2 or 3 drives. It's like we gave him one antibiotic. He still has the infection. Oh, that pill didn't work.
The thing was, it was clearly the tackles were getting beat off the edge like no other. Wild. And it's like it's similar to OU. It's like, yes, like OU's probably in a little different situation. You're so far pinned back where it feels like you need some sort of change in order to save the season. But for them, it's just like the whole reason why Quinn Ewers was playing bad is he had no time back there. He had 0 time. And so bringing in Arch Manning doesn't solve the inherent problem with the offensive line at that moment. Just felt weird. It felt very, I don't know. It doesn't, there's nothing to even compare it to because they quickly switched back. Like, just the 2 drive thing felt very, very weird.
It was not very good. We'll end up talking a lot more about the Longhorns there on our slate. But before we dive into the picks, Ty, you weren't not on the Schooner Pod because just of speed timing on our end. It just happens. What are your thoughts on the dismissal of Seth Luttrell and everything going forward with the Sooners before we get into our slate?
I don't know if I'm allowed to share my actual thoughts. I will say this. It was definitely a step in the right direction. It is not the solution, and it was not the move that I would have liked to have seen.
I think we can go ahead and
talk about it. Yeah. Send them.
We can unlock the word. we can bring up Brent Venables' future. I think.
I think there should be a very shortly. I think mid-season for him certainly would be a wild move. Mid-season for Luttrell. Mid-season for Luttrell, very smart. Mid-season for a head coach, wild move. I think it should be a very short leash situation. We'll see. I don't know.
I agree.
He's got
ice.
He's got another hire. Another year. We'll see how it goes.
I don't know about that one, Bobby.
The buyout's
too high. The buyout is way too high. It's not Jimbo levels, but it's pretty dang close. Like,
for OU,
I know you're off by 20 million, but
not to disparage OU, but the ratio, like Jimbo's buyout versus A&M's purchasing power versus Venables' buyout versus OU's purchasing power. Venables might actually be, I don't know what, like the term for that, like wouldn't be per capita or something, but I think Venables' buyout ratio to purchasing power might actually be higher.
It's a high buyout. It's a tough schedule next year. Just see what he can do.
Not another tough schedule. It's always
he's hedging already.
You're he's hedging already now.
It's the exact same schedule flipped, and you have Michigan. Like it's gonna be.
That does make it a little easier. Michigan does make it a little easier.
And Houston or Tulane? Oh, God. Okay. Well, we'll have plenty of time.
I don't know. Tulane has more of a pulse than Michigan right now. I'll say that.
Oh, man. Well, anyways, let's dive into this. Quick hash of the standings here. Ty is still in the lead at 40 and 44. Pedestrian 4-6 week last week. Vote Blake sitting second at 37-47 after a 1-9 week.
How does a 1-9 week not doom you to the bottom of the standings?
Why do you have to keep on saying what our records are, Bobby? Like, I don't want
Why
this.
not? Jameson, we must keep tracks. Well, I'm third at 34-50, which is brutal, but I have hope. I've had my first good week ever not ever, but this season I went 7-3, and I'm very proud of that. I'm actually somehow within 3 games of Blake. So
I love how the 3 games last week that I overlapped with you. I'm like, oh, I hate overlapping with Bobby. Like, Bobby has been just the curse, and those are the games that don't win.
Of course.
Jeez.
And then Jameson firmly in last place at 31-53, 5-5. So anyways, let's move on to our first game here. It's the Boise State Broncos, 17th ranked in the country. I would say probably in pole position to get the group of 5 spot. They're 5-1 overall, 3-3 against the spread. They're heading to Las Vegas to take on, Blake's Running Rebs, who are 6-1, 5-2 against the spread. Boise favored by 3.5 here. You can find this one 9:30 p.m. Central on CBS Sports Network. This one a Friday night tilt. Ty, who do you like in this game?
Yeah, unfortunately, Bobby, like you just read off our records, we are never going to beat the ball not nowhere allegations at this rate. But with that being said, I think any reasonable ball knower knows to take Boise in this one. Yes, UNLV is building something, whatever else that you're going to hear from Blake, his nonsense, his propaganda about this UNLV team, to have people fleeing this program like rats fleeing a sinking ship. And while this ship might be going forward, I will not be convinced that it is not sinking this season. So go ahead and give me Boise State. Tremendous momentum, tremendous buy-in. Jameson said this about Texas. I believe it was Jameson said this about Texas earlier in the week. And it's, you need the casuals. You really do need the casuals nowadays, especially with the way the committee is and everything else. That popular vote really does get you places, and Boise has that behind him, and I think the team feels it, especially when you got a guy who very legitimately could be in Heisman contention, although I think schedule has to be factored in. He's probably not going to be in contention seriously just because brand, but go ahead and give me Boise in Vegas minus 3.5 against the UNLV. Are they the running Rebs or are they the Rebs?
Running Rebs, maybe.
The running Rebs.
Rebels, but I think they're
Rebels.
old.
Rebs.
They were Rebels, but I think like their basketball, their basketball history has them as the running Rebs. But look, I'm not turning my back here. I don't think that's any shocker here. It's like when I swore years ago that I was going to bring hope, desire, championships to the desert. I truly believe that. And this is one place when the eyes of the world are upon you that the Runnin' Rebs can really put their stamp on this conference. It really sucks because, to be honest, I don't hate Boise State. I actually think Boise State is great for the Mountain West. I think they're great for the G5. They're kind of the first, in this era where a G5 team makes it. It's not like we have everybody losing and then Liberty at the top and people are bored and mad about them actually because they're just going undefeated against a crappy schedule. They have a team like Boise that has an interesting point with Ashton Genty. I think UNLV is getting a little underrated here. I think this UNLV team, although Boise is a little bit better competition, I think UNLV, their win last week versus Oregon State was not fluky. They got down early, but were able to surge back in that second half, seal off the win. It looks like the offense looks way better under Hajj Malik Williams. The defense is still holding. It seems like they have something going there. 3.5. This feels like it could be a field goal game. I'm a little bit worried about Ashton Genty and how he's just been able to run all over everybody, including an Oregon team earlier in the year. It's like the one quality loss, in a year where everybody's losing. It's the one quality loss I could actually attribute to a team. But you know what? Ricky White's going to be the difference. He's going to put his name on this game. He has the most punt blocks in all of America, and he is outranking every other team in punt blocks just by himself on special teams. this UNLV team's different. Their scheme's a little bit different. I have them here to cover to cover and win, and that I think we'll be seeing these two teams again in the Mountain West Championship. But I am not giving up on the Rebs here, so give me UNLV.
Yeah, I mean, this is I think this is going to be really Boise's toughest test for the remainder of the season. Just given the fact that the Mountain West, I feel like, is a little dodgy this season. And even though UNLV lost that game to Syracuse, I feel like they are still a really solid team. I don't know about this Boise team yet. I think they are good. This is just kind of one of those tough spots. I don't believe in Allegiant Stadium as a very tough environment. Oh, come on! It's an NFL stadium in Las Vegas. How many college football fans are really out there? I don't know.
Hey, it looks pretty rowdy, on a Friday night, Gambler's Paradise. Josh Pate's gonna be in the building this week.
The Pate bump. The Pate bump.
I hope someone pays to put his bald head on the sphere.
Oh my god!
Can you imagine?
Funny.
Can you imagine his eyeballs looking at you as like you're flying by in the plane? You're like, oh.
I think if Blake was on a plane and looked down and saw a giant Pate head, he'd go ahead and pop the emergency exit and just DB Cooper without a parachute.
That's funny. Ultimately, I think Boise and Ashton Genty are going to be too much for this. It's going to be close. This is a sweat. I wouldn't pick it. Like I wouldn't put money on this one because I think it's going to be a little tricky. But I'm going to go with a safe bet here and go with Boise minus 3.5.
Yeah, I'm going Boise as well. Put Blake on an island. They're coming off a bye week, and Ashton Genty been getting run into the dirt, and he's been doing well at it. But I guarantee you, he needs this. Coming off rest from a week off, going against UNLV defense, their offense has been prolific. We know that. We've been talking about that throughout the season. Their defense, though, has some deficiencies to where I think, Ashton Genty with rest, this Boise State offense, I feel like can punch them in the mouth at the beginning, which we've seen with UNLV can happen, and they can get down early, and it might be a lead that they can't get back from like they did last week. I'm going to go Boise State.
All right. Blake is an island boy for UNLV. We'll see how that turns out. There you go. Moving on to our next game. There you go. Ride or die for UNLV. It's a 12th ranked Notre Dame fighting Irish, 6-1 overall, 5-2 against the spread. They are heading to a neutral site to take on the 24th ranked Navy Midshipmen, 6-0 overall, 5-1 against the spread. There you go, Ty, rocking the Navy jersey. Notre Dame is a 12.5 point favorite here. Find this one 11 a.m. Central on ABC. Ty, do you remember what site this is on? Actually, I keep forgetting. Like what? I don't think it's Yankee Stadium because they're obviously in the World Series. Do you? Oh, it's MetLife Stadium.
It's at MetLife. Yeah, it's at MetLife. Oh, I thought you were asking where it was going to be on TV.
No, it's right there. So it's at MetLife. Should be interesting. Probably pretty neutral game. So, Jameson, who do you like in the ball game?
Navy's been putting up some absolute numbers recently, and it's been astounding. But Ty and I were talking about this before we got on and went live, and I know we've talked about this in the past with Blake's opinion, but don't you just feel that they're inflating this to get Notre Dame some extra little juice to get into the playoffs? Amen. Just that alone, I'm not even going to just go after this game. I feel like that the world is going to try to juice Notre Dame as this underdog in a big win that I think 12.5 is too low. I think Navy as number 24 team, good for them. They deserve it, but at the same time, they're going to overhype it. So give me Notre Dame big in this one.
This one breaks my heart because it's one that I really want to choose Navy. Like I would love to go Navy plus 12.5 here. Their offense is a little bit different from usual. They're airing it out more. It's always fun to pick a service academy, especially against freaking Notre Dame, right? But it makes me think of the last time we had a Navy Notre Dame game. It was week 0. It was a blowout in Ireland.
And you picked Navy.
And I picked Navy.
Yep, I remember. It was a bad one for you.
It was brutal. I do think this Navy team is legitimately better, but Notre Dame, I feel like they truly have learned from that Northern Illinois loss, and they've just looked pretty damn good since then. So I'm going to go with Notre Dame to cover the 12.5, sadly, but I don't know. Strictly business.
Yeah, this is a business play for me. The thing about the Service Academies teams, it's been great. Like the story, it's been fantastic having them here, and they're probably should be ranked, just because I do agree. At some point, you have to let the resumes talk, and if you're undefeated, that is a pretty big statement for the resume. But the Air Force, not Army and Navy, the best team they played collectively is Memphis, which Navy played. They beat them pretty bad. But even then, Memphis was still able to move the ball. The thing that Notre Dame, I think, has an advantage on a lot of these other teams that play the service academies, or they play the service academies a lot. They're kind of used to this offense. I don't care if they put in some wrinkles and stuff like that. They have better talent this year than we saw in Ireland, but I still don't think it's enough. It's been really impressive, I will say, not me glazing Notre Dame a little bit, but Riley Leonard has looked a lot better over the past few weeks. It looked like he should not even be the starter after that Northern Illinois game, but he's really stepped up. It's like Purdue on. He's looked really good, been able to run, pass the ball, even with significant injuries coming to Notre Dame on both the offensive and defensive side. And Bobby's saying it's neutral site, but the one thing I know about New York is their love for Notre Dame. I don't get it. I guess it's the whole Catholic influence, but a easy game for New Yorkers that can't go to college football games out in MetLife. This one feels like it's more of a home game for Notre Dame. So I am going to give it to the Notre Dame Irish. Too familiar with the system. The talent's a little bit better. And I just feel like these Service Academy teams really haven't been tested yet with a legitimate team. So I'm going to take the Irish.
Yeah, this is a game that Navy typically hosts at a site outside of Annapolis just because of the attraction that it generally draws. It is
the money. It's the money.
It is money. Yeah. Well, it is still considered a rivalry game, and I will say Notre Dame has less of a lead in this game than OU does in Bedlam. So Navy's actually performed. They've played it's every year since 1927, I believe. So a little bit fewer meetings, but Navy has a better win-loss on this one than OSU does in Bedlam, at least. Last time these two teams met in New Jersey was 2010, and that was a 35-17 Navy win. So I'm going to obviously be taking Navy here. Last time Navy won was, we're approaching 10 years now. It was 2016 when they played in Jacksonville, Florida. Talk about a cursed land. That's very much like New Jersey, also a cursed land. So maybe Navy does well in cursed lands, but I'm going to go ahead and take Navy outright, but give me Navy to cover in this one. I think we're going to ride. We're going to get that playoff hype. We cannot allow Boise State. Thankfully, Boko, bittersweet that Boko has been eliminated from that spot.
How dare you?
Navy's going to take care of Army later on in the season. We're going to see how that one has, weird timing for impacting the playoff race. I don't think anyone ever thought that it would, but here we are with this system, and Navy knocking out Notre Dame here is going to be the first step for that. So go ahead and give me the midshipmen. Yes, they were embarrassed last year, but you're talking about game out in Ireland, season opener, week 0 with a brand new head coach. This is a very, very different Navy team now that they've got their feet under them.
I'm so pissed he brought up Texas State. Screw you, Ty.
Yeah. That's fine.
We don't have to go into depth, but I'm just going to say it again. No, screw you, Ty.
It was not that long ago that we were talking about Boko's path to the playoff. After he started 2-0, he started 2-0. We're like, it's happening. It's all coming together.
We were a little optimistic there, but would be very interesting to see Navy and Army figure out. I think they would end up having to play the American Conference title against each other and then play Army Navy. So that would be a little weird. But yeah. Anyways, moving on to our next game. Are y'all tired of seeing Illinois yet? It's the Illinois Fighting Illini, 20th in the country after a big win against Michigan, 6-1 overall, and against the spread. They're heading to Eugene, Oregon to take on the number 1 ranked Ducks, 7-0, 3-4 against the spread after a big win against the Purdue Boilermakers. Oregon, a 21.5 point favorite. You can find this one 9:15 p.m. Central on ESPN. I don't know if that's right, actually. My apologies. Anyways, you can find it at some point. Ty, who do you like in this ball game?
I love my Duckies. I love my Duckies in this ball game. And on Friday?
2:30. Sorry, 2:30 Central.
It's 2:30 on a Friday?
No, Saturday.
I did not fix this overlay.
That was the one from last week.
I was like, my goodness, Oregon is never beating the poverty program allocations. 2:30 Friday kick. God, Phil Knight must have really pissed off the execs at some network. But no, I like Oregon in this one. I think this line is completely unreasonable. This is, once again, I feel like, and if you look at Oregon's record against the spread all season, you'll see that they haven't really been that excellent, but it's like they keep getting these lines that just don't account for like what they could do. Well, they account for like their maximum possible thing. Like Oregon could very easily cover this, but I don't think it's a reasonable line. And Oregon has had these all year. So gosh, I'm in an impossible situation here because I picked against my heart against Oregon before, and then I was punished for it against Ohio State. I'm going to have to ride with the Ducks, but I just think 21.5 is really unreasonable for an Illinois team that has been very respectable this year.
This game, by the way, 2:30 p.m. Central on CBS.
Worst case scenario, I guess, Oregon doesn't cover, and I can just, dust off some old Dylan Gabriel talking points.
Always a silver lining. Blake, who do you like?
This one's going to be all Oregon. Like, I think Oregon's hit the point of the season where the early of the season struggles have kind of worn off. This team is legit. They're one of the top probably 3-4 teams in the nation right now. Honestly, you're probably going 1-2 from the Big Ten. But yeah, Dylan Gabriel's a perfect quarterback for this system. He's able to get the ball to the right people. They're able to run the ball relatively effectively. And it seems like they've just been outclassing some of these like lower level Big Ten programs. And I know people are wondering, Illinois, they can't be lower level Big Ten. They have that number next to their name. Illinois is kind of, they're one of my new paper tiger teams. I'm like, their best win being Michigan probably is very concerning. I'm like, they played a bad Kansas team. They played a bad Purdue team, went to the wire with them. And then the Nebraska win, which was probably like the highlight of their year, going on the road right there. We've kind of learned about Nebraska that they are going through the bumps of learning through a freshman quarterback, having to still establish, like, it's not going to be a one-year rebuild there for Matt Rule. So Luke Altmaier, he seems to be playing well in these bad games, but Oregon's just a step above that class, going to the West Coast, even with 21.5 in the hook. I feel like this one's just going to be put away early. So give me the Ducks.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you, Blake. I don't think Illinois is like a legitimate contender in the Big Ten or anything. They're definitely a team that, I think is probably a little overhyped. But I think the line's too big. I think Illinois just has a way of finding ways to cover that are a little bit ugly, not always the most fun. They kind of did that against Penn State. I felt like they know how to kind of get in a scrap. And Oregon, I think in terms of a wins and losses perspective, they are just so locked in. They're rolling. But 21 feels a little too high for me against this Illinois team. I feel like this will kind of be a similar situation to like on a bigger scale, like the Michigan State game, where they clearly were in control the entire game, but didn't cover just by like that much. I feel like Oregon's going to control this game. They're going to win this game, dominate it, but 21 is too high a number. This line opened at like, I think 25, and it's already shifted down pretty significantly. So anyways, that's my thoughts on this one. Oregon win pretty easy, but I think Illinois finds a way to get that cover.
Yeah, I'm really curious about how Illinois' offense is going to show up in this game, because we've kind of seen some things from them with Luke Altmaier. We're like, okay, they're pushing the ball down the field, they're doing well. But other times, like that Penn State game, after that touchdown at the very beginning of the game, they scored 0 points for the rest of the game.
Nothing.
Like it was So what's the quick math on that? 55 minutes that they didn't score the ball, like score a touchdown or a field goal for the rest of the game. That's kind of wild, kind of red flaggy, I think, going into this game. I think Oregon can, like what y'all were saying, they're going to put up points. They're going to put up a lot of points. I just don't know if Illinois' offense is as good as we think it is. I think 21.5 is going to get covered by Oregon.
All right, moving on to our next game. We've got the 8th-ranked LSU Tigers, 6-1 overall, 3-4 against the spread. They're heading to Kyle Field to take on the Texas A&M Aggies, ranked 14th in the country. Ags are 6-1, 2-5 against the spread. A&M favored by 2.5 here. Find this one 6:30 p.m. Central on ABC. Jameson, who do you like in the ball game?
So first inclination here, it's like, okay, I get Texas A&M's defense has been really good this year, but I've been wanting to fade them for a lot of the year. But them at home, it's been completely different. Like they beat Arkansas, they handled Missouri, and I mean, how much is Missouri actually it? And then throw out that Notre Dame game. But like recently, them in conference play at home, it's looked pretty good. So I get a little bit nervous about the stadium pulse going up in Kyle Field. But LSU's defense is looking damn good. Honestly, at the point where I think that they could be looking better than Texas A&M's defense, which is wild to say now at this point in the season, especially where we thought LSU's defense was in the beginning and preseason. And I feel like LSU is just putting it together and having a really good season. I think that they can pull off, the +2.5 here and get the W at Kyle Field.
Yeah, I've been kind of fading LSU, and it's been to my detriment the past couple weeks. And here's my thing with this ball game, and with a lot of the hype around Texas A&M and that Missouri game. It's like, yeah, that was a blowout. It was impressive. But to me, I feel like that was more of a statement about Missouri than it was about Texas A&M. And, I don't know. I think LSU's finally found a way to, they've kind of turned it around. They're kind of gritty. Nussmeier isn't perfect, but he just finds a way to get it done. And as much as I'd love to fade the Tigers here on the road, I'm not. I think A&M might not be as good as people think. Clearly, the voters have them at 14th when, you see a 6-1 SEC team that doesn't really pass the spell test much. And I like A&M here to not cover at Kyle Field. The lights are too bright, 6:30 p.m. Kickoff. I think LSU gets this thing done, gets a cover.
I forgot, Bobby, to make my biggest point of why I was going to pick this. Connor Wegman's back to looking like his bad self. He looks like crap. Sorry, forgot about that. Carry on, Blake.
He did not look good last week, but it's not stopping me from taking the Aggies. I trust for some reason. I trust Mike Elko more than I do Brian Kelly in these scenarios. I saw it a little, I just keep on going back to that Ole Miss game where yes, LSU won, but with a team similarly matched to them, they were struggling, and had to pull off a miracle comeback at home in order to do it. Jameson is right, though. Ever since Harold Perkins has gone down, the defense looks 10 billion times better. That probably shows what he means as a player to that defense. You don't have to try to, feel like you need to scheme them in there. You can actually just run what you want to run. It's been very impressive from what I've seen from LSU on the defensive side, but I just feel like A&M, Kyle Fields, that night game, this has a potential for a top 10 Texas A&M matchup. I am not denying that from myself. I need to see that. I need to see that top 10 matchup. I think this is gonna be a great game. This one's gonna be a fantastic game. I think both of these quarterbacks, I think Garrett Nussmeier, obviously the better ones, but they do put the ball in danger a lot, and they make some dumb mistakes, and they can be inconsistent at times, which I think will lead to a great game. I'm gonna take the Aggies here with the 2.5 to cover, but I don't expect this. But I don't expect either side winning by more than a touchdown. I think this is gonna be a great SEC matchup, but I'm gonna take the Aggies.
This to me is the definition of a avoid this like the plague. This is a must-watch game, but a avoid like the plague for betting game. I think it's just you don't know what to get from either of these teams. I think both of them have deceptively good records, LSU, snuck through with Ole Miss, and obviously I was on LSU for that one, so was very happy to see it happen. But yeah, I don't trust Brian Kelly in situations like this. I don't trust A&M's quarterback in situations like this. This is going to be so fun to watch, but I don't know what I want to do. I'm going to go ahead and ride with the. I hate this so much. I'm going to go ahead and ride with the home field advantage. This was a game time decision for me. I'll ride with A&M here. Home field advantage. LSU just last time I saw them do anything, it was just because of home field advantage. So I'm going to go ahead and ride home field advantage. Would not surprise me if LSU embarrassed some at home. Would not surprise me if LSU got embarrassed. I don't know. So coin toss, give me A&M at home.
There we go. I think we definitely all can agree it's going to be a awesome football game. Looking forward to watching it. Moving on to our next one. It's a Big 12 battle. The Cincinnati Bearcats, 5-2, surprising. Probably the most. Well, the whole conference is full of surprises. Cincy being one of the main ones. They're 5-2 overall and against the spread. Heading to Folsom Field to take on the Colorado Buffs, who are also 5-2 overall and against the spread. Coach Prime and Colorado favored by 5.5. You can find this one 9:15 p.m. Central on ESPN. Ty, who do you like here?
Yeah, this one's easy. This is Colorado all the way. Colorado is going to blow them out of the water. Cincinnati is not a respectable school. Potentially, I don't even know if we're technically allowed to say this. Maybe rumors, are they even an accredited school? I don't know. Is Cincinnati a real school? Yet to be determined. Go ahead and give me Colorado minus 5.5 at home. I would take this Colorado minus 15.5 if I could. But Bobby is forcing me to pick 5.5. So go ahead and give me Colorado minus 5.5.
Yeah, this one's hard for me. I really don't have, just because there's so many games going on in the Big 12, and typically you would think a Cincinnati game is the one you're not watching. I really haven't watched much on him, but it looks like Brendan Sorsby, they found something there with him. Scott Satterfield team, I would never think would actually be this good or beat expectations this bad. Oh, this one has me in a pit, because Colorado has just been, where was the talk? Colorado still gets a good amount of talk, I'm not going to lie, but where's that talk from last year when they rattled off a win or two early and they were the talk, they were leading First Take every single day, and now they're actually putting together a legitimate season. Dion is going to take this team to a bowl, which is fantastic. I think their win total was set at 4.5, 5.5, juice to the under. This team didn't look like they were, everybody thought this was just going to be Dion's project to get Travis Hunter, to get Shedeur Sanders to the pros and bounce, but he's surprisingly built something here a little bit. The team looks a little bit more physical. They played, I would say, Arizona might have fallen off a cliff. They're thinking about firing their coach after 1 year, but the defense is still impressive nonetheless. They do have talent on that side. Travis Hunter obviously banged up, but I think he's going to be healthier this week. But oh my God, I have no idea. I've been, the times we maybe only have chosen one of these games with Cincinnati. I've just been in the wrong. They seem just solid on all sides. They don't really impress you, but they just control the games. I'm gonna take the 5.5. I think Cincinnati keeps it close, puts a statement on the league. But this one can be. I agree with Ty. It could be a blowout. Colorado looks very good right now.
Yeah, this is a tough one, and the Big 12 as a whole is impossible to judge right now. Just when you think you have everything figured out, one team will completely collapse and then the other one just shoots up out of nowhere. So to me, this is just I mean, I could give you a full rundown of this game and I could be completely wrong. But I do agree with Blake. I think Colorado is legit. I think what Coach Prime has done here is really, really impressive. And yeah, I like the Buffaloes at home. Cincy, to me, I feel like, yeah, they have had significant, solid wins, but they're always kind of not as good as you think. There's always something that happened. Levitt being hurt last week, stuff like that. So I'm going to go Colorado to get the cover. I don't feel great about it, but we just don't know with the Big 12, and I don't think we will for the rest of the season, really.
I will say, yeah, there's the excuse with Levitt getting hurt last week, but throw that to the side and look at what the offense looked like in the first half. They looked explosive. They looked like they were making plays, and they controlled the game. I understand they didn't score in the second half. I understand that. But just by the eye test, from what I saw from Cincinnati, from watching that first half, I was like, damn, I'm pretty impressed here. I think they've got it. You give me plus 5.5 versus Colorado, I think it stays close enough. I think we can get a cover here on the plus.
All right, there we go. Moving on to our next game. It's the 21st ranked Missouri Tigers, 6-1 overall, 4-3 against the spread, heading to Tuscaloosa to take on the 15th ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. We're at 5-1, 3-4 against the spread after a tough one. Another second loss in 3 weeks, this time to the hated Tennessee Volunteers on the 3rd Saturday of October. So Alabama rolling into this one, still smelling like Tennessee fan cigars. Bama favored by 13.5 here at home, 2:30 p.m. Central start time on ABC. Jameson, how you feeling about this one? Do you think Alabama will finally get it together?
Bobby, I was so ready to fade Alabama because I feel like even though Tennessee kept giving them opportunity after opportunity of bad plays, 2 interceptions, bad field possession in that whole first half, and just going 7-0 into halftime is absolutely inexcusable for this Alabama team. I was so ready to fade them. But I was doing more preparation on this game, and I was like, okay, I wonder what Brady Cook's doing. And so, you get the coach's press conference and whatnot. So what's Eli Drinkwitz saying about Brady Cook? Because I know Brady Cook, when he's in, he came back. Did he go to the hospital and then came back at the game? Like, what the hell is going on for an ankle injury?
Got an MRI and then came back to the game.
What the hell are they doing? I'm sorry. I'm just so confused there. Like, why the hell are they sending him to the hospital for an MRI in the middle? Whatever. I don't know the situation. I can't assume too much, but still, what the hell is going on there? And I'm like, okay, maybe Eli Drinkwitz can give me something here in his midweek press conference. This corny, God, I almost said MF, but this corny dude, he said, I would expect Brady to be at practice. And then thank God, one of the Missouri beat writers said, can you clarify at? This dude continues to fumble on his words, essentially saying, like, I don't know if he's going to participate, but I would expect him to be at practice, and like, what the hell is going on? That is so just murky and icky. Oh my God. Drink is such a freaking loser, man. Like,
amen.
I can't pick that. I was ready to pick Missouri, even though they've looked so bad. I was ready to pick them because I think it was just going to be a nasty game, and I still think it can. But out of principle, after just reading that just pissed me off too much. Screw them. Go Alabama. Roll Tide.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. Missouri got exposed for being a fraud against Texas A&M, and I think that's genuinely who they are. You look at some of their games this season; they haven't impressed against any like legitimate like legitimate in the sense of like not Buffalo, Missouri State, or Mass, like UMass. So like Vandy, they escape. Boston College, they escape. Last week, they go in and escape Auburn at home, who is probably the only team in the SEC right now that feels worse than OU. So yeah, I mean, it's just, this is who Missouri are. They are the definition of a paper tiger. Drink, that whole operation's getting exposed right now. And damn it, I do not think this Alabama team's very good, but this is a great get back game situation. You got the 13.5, so you got the hook going in your direction. Yeah, I like Alabama to roll big at home, get back after a pretty brutal couple weeks. So Alabama minus 13.5 is the play.
Yeah, I'm joining in on Bama. There's nothing about Missouri's defense that has shown that they can actually stop anything. I will say it's like with all of Jalen Milroe's like faults when it came to the Tennessee-Alabama game, Tennessee's defense is actually good. Like, they are a good defensive unit. Like, that is not the problem there in Knoxville. So with his struggles, I'm not as much worried about it. Like, I think Alabama's not as great as they once used to, but they're probably fourth, like top 4, top 5 in the SEC, which can still get you into the playoffs if we're going to be honest here. Missouri just stinks. They flat out stink. They should have lost to Auburn last week. They should have lost to Vandy. They kept it close with Boston College. Like, this team just does not know how to play. I don't want to ever hear any Luther Burden hype in my life. This guy has not been a difference maker whatsoever. Brady Cook, same way. I don't care if you roll out. Like, I'm really not concerned about Brady Cook's injury status. Like, him versus Drew Pine, they both suck.
Dude, you cannot compare Drew Pine to Brady Cook.
I know.
You can hate Missouri, but that is just ridiculous. Drew Pine is terrible, absolutely terrible.
But Brady Cook hasn't shown anything this year. Like, what?
I don't care. Like, Brady Cook is at least a tier up. There's a reason that team did nothing with him.
Brother, we are having a mid-off right now. Like, this is just like they are both horrendous. They are horrendous. I'll give you that. Like, Brady Cook, there is a drop-off, but I don't think a drop-off in this game with an Alabama team that is roaring to beat somebody. I think this one's going to get ugly. Mizzou needs to get exposed. Like, this is OU's path to a bowl game still play Mizzou. And that is something, and just seeing how the results have lied with Auburn, it's like OU actually has a chance in that game. Like, I think South Carolina is better than Mizzou. I think a lot of teams in the SEC are better than Mizzou. It's just they have that number next to their name. They have that record, which is this is the reason why the AP poll is the biggest piece of BS known to man, because we know Mizzou is not a good team. So I'm going to take Bama. Bama's going to roll them. It's going to be bad. It's going to be ugly. This is probably one of my favorite plays of the week.
No, you guys are reading into this incorrectly. You want to talk about coaches that should be on the hot seat. We got a coach who took over the most successful dynasty in modern times for sure, and a dynasty that would be in contention for most successful dynasty in all of college football history. And what has he done? He's taken that team. He's destroyed all discipline. He's caused them to lose to Vandy. He's caused them to lose to Tennessee, which was actually a quality loss. And I think this one, Missouri, for all their faults, everything y'all said about Missouri is true. I am number one Missouri not liker. I'm not a Missouri hater because I was exposed to Tennessee fans and what they think about Missouri, and they are Missouri haters. I'm a Missouri not liker. I'm an extreme not liker, but I don't feel about them the way that Tennessee fans feel about them, and I love my beloved Tennessee fans and their opinions on Mizzou. Unfortunately, though, I think Mizzou just wins this one outright. I don't think Bama has a chance in this one. They have a coach who is so far out of his depth, it's unbelievable. He's going to show up in a T-shirt. He's not at all going to understand that he's on the hot seat, and he's just going to bebop around and be like, oh, yeah, I mean, we're doing the Bama will be up by 10 at half. Mark my words. And he'll be like, oh, yeah, we got some stuff to improve on, blah, 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 in his little T-shirt. And then he's going to come out, and Mizzou's just going to bumble their way to a win, because that's just what they do. And hopefully this guy will get fired, because it's a disgrace to see the beautiful University of Alabama football team being managed the way that it currently is. Go ahead and give me Mizzou minus Mizzou. Go ahead and give me Mizzou minus 13, but I'll take Mizzou plus 13.5, I guess, for the sake of the Schooner Pod.
Oh, Lord,
man.
have mercy. Lord have mercy.
That was an all-time take. I kind of love it.
Bama fans aren't going to disagree with me on that one, though. That's the thing. No, I'm not fading Bama here. It's the same as OU. You have to have the pain so that you can rip the Band-Aid off.
Really, you're just endearing yourself to both Missouri and Alabama fans with that take.
I hope not. I hope if Missouri wins, I cannot wait to flip it around on them somehow.
Right. There you go. There you go. All right, moving on to our next game. It's a big one for Blake. It's the Battle of West Texas, which why do they call it that? Battle for the Saddle. Biggest rivalry in West Texas, or whatever they call it. It's the Texas Tech Red Raiders, 5-2 overall, 4-3 against the spread. Heading to Fort Worth to take on the TCU Horned Frogs, 4-3, 2-5 against the spread after a big win on the road against Utah. 9-3 TCU still in play, baby. Let's go. I think that maybe that turned my season around. So I'm feeling happy. We're feeling the vibes of the Frogs here. TCU favored by 7 here at Amon G. Carter Stadium. 2:30 p.m. Central kickoff on Fox for this ball game. Ty, who do you like?
Yeah, this is the battle of couldn't get into the University of Texas. You have the Texas Tech students who legitimately could not figure out the application website. And then you have the TCU students that just went to really small little Christian schools and such and their GPA didn't really count for much. With that being said, I will be riding with TCU -7 because I like TCU much more. I don't like anything about Texas Tech. I do like their horse. I do like that. I'm starting to think of things that I do like about them. I loved Mike Leach. I hate what they did to him. Patrick Mahomes, obviously, who can forget, Heisman winner, Big 12 champion, college football national champion, Patrick Mahomes, multiple 10-win seasons at Texas Tech, college football hero. We all knew what he was going to be. But go ahead and give me TCU -7 in this one. I think TCU is probably just going to straight up lose, but I like the Froggies.
Have y'all seen the edit that's been going around about Patrick Mahomes where it's like he goes back to pass, he hands it off, like, oh, there's a flag on the play. It's like personal foul. This will result in a Patrick Mahomes touchdown. All hail Patrick Mahomes. Have you seen that?
No.
I've got to find it. I've been seeing it a couple times and it's making me laugh. It's like a dubbed referee. I'll send it right now. I'm going to find it.
Oh, that is perfect. This line makes no sense to me. Absolutely no sense to me. I love my Frogs. I love my Frogs more than anything. I hopped on the 9-3 Frogs bandwagon early. I was not like many of my TCU friends that said, stop it, cut it out, whenever I was sending the memes, whenever I was having fun with it. But yeah, last weekend's win against Utah was one of the greatest things in my life. Never have I seen a fan base crumble so quickly than the Utah Utes. It made me so very happy. Enough that they fired their offensive coordinator, who was one of the highly sought after ones in the kind of coaching hiring season last year. Oh my God, it made me so happy. We broke their brains, and by a way that I never saw TCU doing. The defense showed up. But with that, there are so many red flags about this team. The offense could not move the ball. Like, we scored early, and we were having to, for once in our life, rely on our defense to get stops. Granted, Utah's quarterback is pretty trash. They didn't really have a good game plan, but ultimately, the Frogs came out on top. Tech, I think, is the better squad here, but I am not backing down on 9-3 Frogs right now. TCU is going to roll. The battle for the saddle. This would be hilarious. It would make my year. Or Utah losing to us made my year, but to make my year even better, that Texas Tech actually had reasonable expectations for once, and then in 2 weeks lost to Baylor and TCU just to put them back at the doldrums of Texas football. I would love that. I would love that immensely. It would be very hilarious. I hope to see the Texas Tech faithful out there. They talk about how they pack out our stadium all the time, how it's basically a home field advantage for them, even though they've been suffering to us once we joined the Big 12 somewhat recently. I guess it's been 12, 13 years now, but I'm going to take the Frogs. Good vibes. The line makes no sense, but it doesn't matter. These Frogs don't make any sense on any given week, so give me the Frogs.
Yeah, look, this Texas Tech team is, like you said, they had a lot of expectations, had a couple big wins in conference play, but I mean, all things considered, look, they just got blown out at home to Dave Aranda's Baylor team.
Like, Baylor might be good. They
don't
not like good, but they're better than I think what we thought they were. They kind of were fighting in every single game. Like, they really never rolled over. Like, BYU, they fought back. Sawyer Robinson is kind of developing into a good quarterback. Like, they look a lot. I'm not saying they're some world beaters, but they could. Dave Aranda might not be fired this season. They might go 6-6 and still keep them. I think it's
number
they
10
are
team in the Big 12 incoming.
Dave Aranda, getting a little Gundy-ish with, the contract in mouth, maybe not quite to the same degree, of course. Gundy is the master at that, but I don't know. I'm still not in on him. I'm still not in on it. That was an embarrassing performance at home, at the Jones, whatever. Look, TCU, they got a little juice to them. I said last week, I'm riding with TCU all the way through. And I cannot betray them now after they gave me my second wild card win of the season. So Frogs -7's the play.
Dude, Texas Tech's defense. I told y'all this whenever I watched them at the beginning of the season, whenever I was carving up some 11-leg parlays, hoping for a big hit. The Texas Tech Abilene Christian game that I'm very closely looking at also as my wild card pick. This Texas Tech defense is absolutely pitiful. They made Abilene Christian look like a superstar team. And I'm not going to be surprised at all if this TCU offense, which did not look good in the Utah game, can go out there and put big points on them, because it's not surprising. Now, the problem is, do you think TCU's defense can hold up too? Because we can just laugh about it, Blake. We can laugh about it, but like Barron Morton can sling it, and he's been slinging it this season. I think this is a really tough game.
It does worry me. It's like TCU's defense played great last week, but they haven't played great any weeks before. And I don't think that Utah's backup quarterback is a world beater by any means.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he's very good at all.
What's the over-under in this is actually like the play. That's what I want to look up. Like, I think that would be the play, because I don't believe at all in this Texas Tech defense, and TCU's offense is probably
66.5.
Woo! Goodness.
Ooh.
I still might even take it. Like, it's that bad. I wouldn't be surprised, man. I think I'm gonna go over. I'm gonna go Texas Tech.
This is riveting podcasting.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Yep.
This line, I am like, I'm always for my frogs. I would have, if you would have done like a little Bill Simmons worst segment ever, guess the lines, I would have not put this anywhere close to 7. I would have said maybe frogs like a slight 1-point favorite, but I think on a neutral field, this Tech team has shown at least a little bit more consistency than this TCU squad. But hey, Vegas might know something, so.
It's a pretty solid island boy position, honestly, with Tech, Tech +7. But moving on to our next game. It's the number 5 ranked Texas Longhorns, 6-1 overall, 5-2 against the spread after a brutal, humiliating loss to the Georgia Bulldogs. Well, now they got to go take on Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt, ranked 25th in the country, 5-2 overall and against the spread. Horns favored by 18.5. We can find this one 3:15 p.m. Central on the SEC network. Jameson, who do you like?
Now I'm going to say something controversial, but it's meant to be controversial because it's the term overrated should be you don't agree with me. Do I think Vanderbilt might be the most overrated team in college football this year? Do y'all think?
No. There's one easy pick. There's one easy pick that stays in the rankings regardless of what their results actually are. It's Ole Miss. Ole Miss has not won a single meaningful game, but yet they stay there and people justify it. They're like, because they're good. I'm like, that's your preseason bias telling you you're good. They're good. They haven't shown it on the field once this year versus legitimate competition. So Vanderbilt at least has shown it versus a semi-competitive opponent in Alabama, which
I get that. And then they had a good win versus Virginia Tech. They kept it close for Missouri.
And Virginia Tech looks a lot better now. Like they were written off at the beginning of the season, but they're kind of rounding into form now.
No, they're supposed to be a talented football team this year. This was meant to be a controversial statement. I think that they're a little overhyped. If you're going to say on the spectrum of under and overhyped, I think they're on the overhyped section. And I think Texas, the way that they played versus Georgia is going to leave us like a bad taste in your mouth. A lot of it, I think, is the offensive line was not performing at the capability that we had saw them do in the past, which is a little uncharacteristic because I know Texas offensive line has seniority. They have talent. They have future NFL players. So maybe just these Georgia defensive ends got healthy and just kind of wreaked havoc and just showed why Georgia is so dominant, and that Georgia that we thought they were this season with that Alabama loss and the nasty Kentucky game, etc., is not the Georgia of this season moving forward. I think Texas is still a very quality football team. I understand Vanderbilt has kept things close, but they have respect now, and Texas is going to go out and put their foot down and go and get back their credibility. I understand Bobby will disagree and does not believe in this Texas football team, but this is just my opinion, and I think Vanderbilt just isn't really up for the battle for a team that's got a chip on the shoulder, is prepared for a Vanderbilt team and what they bring to the table. Vanderbilt usually catches teams off guard. I don't think Texas is in that position this week.
Yeah, Vandy to me, I think you're right. Like in a sense that they won't be catching Texas off guard, because I mean, look, there's a number next to their name, and if anything like Texas has literally seen what happens when you play Georgia and then immediately turn around and have to go to Vanderbilt. Like we've already seen the upset. That being said, I feel like Vanderbilt, their path to victory is pretty similar to, kind of what we saw against Alabama. If you can out physical the Longhorns, if you can really take it to them and maybe get a turnover or so, Quinn Ewers was pretty bad with that. Same with Arch Manning for his one fumble. If you're able to get the ball in those key moments and just hold on to the football, slowly inch your way down the field, just control the ball, control the clock, kind of like what Mississippi State did as well against the Longhorns. I think Vanderbilt, maybe probably won't have a shot to win the football game. I don't think they're that capable, but Texas, to me, I think there are more deficiencies than I think people think. The running game hasn't really come alive whatsoever. The wide receiving core has looked a little bit lacking in the past couple of weeks. The injury to Isaiah Bond he clearly does not look like himself. Currently, I think their best option right now has been Gunnar Helm. And I don't know. I don't think this Texas team is nearly as dynamic as people think. To me, I think Vanderbilt does enough to keep this thing close, get the 18.5 point cover at home. But I think if anything, sprinkle on the money line for fun, but I don't think you can reasonably expect them to get it back, but this Vandy team, I think, is legitimate. So they keep it close, get the cover.
Yeah, this Vandy team's going to be a bowl team. Like, what they're doing it should just be like, I know Jameson went into the overrated talk, and that's fair. Like, they probably are not the best, like, in top 25 teams in the country, but they have vastly improved. Especially, like, they are probably in the hardest position in America, where it's not only you have the lack of resources, but it's also the talent around you. We see this all the time in the G5. We see it in some of the smaller conferences that, yeah, teams like traditionally there's some teams that do bad there, but everybody's kind of around them that they can pluck off wins. Vanderbilt's like in a complete, like, in this new era of college football, they are on an absolute island. And so Clark Lee, the ability for him to actually get wins there this year, to bring in guys like Diego Pavia and realize like just getting a little bit of grit in that program is what's necessary. Like, hats off to him. But I think Texas rolls here. The Texas defense, like Texas as a team had a miserable weekend last weekend, but the defense still held up. They were turning Carson Beck over. They were able to stop Georgia really in the second half, only allowing one score there. I just don't think Vanderbilt puts that much pressure on them, just like Georgia did. I feel like this defense can finally establish themselves on Texas and really just shut down what Diego is trying to do. And I think the offense, that doesn't have to be a world beater offense, but I think just slowly and surely they'll be able to wear down this Vanderbilt team. So I don't see Vanderbilt scoring much on this Texas defense, and I think Texas will find a way. I agree with Bobby. It's like with Isaiah Bond kind of being banged up, it didn't look as good. Gunnar Helm by far looked like the best target last week. He's the only one that seems like was able to get open for like little 7-yard routes, but I think the difference between the Vanderbilt defense and the Georgia defense is very vast. So I'm going to take that UT minus 18.5. I think they're going to right the ship. They might not be the world's beater program, but I think they're still a top 5 team in the nation.
Ty?
I completely forgot it was my turn. I'm sorry. Excellent podcasting tonight. Yeah, I have Texas big in this one. I think Texas bounces back. Obviously, tremendously big line, but I agree with Jameson on the Vandy overrated thing. Like, just look at their schedule. They have that Virginia Tech win that's obviously respectable, and then you got a loss to Georgia State, loss to Mizzou, was a close loss to Mizzou, was a close loss to Georgia State. Obviously, you beat Bama, but then 20-13 against Kentucky is only impressive if you're Vandy, and then 24-14 against Ball State, again, only impressive if you're Vandy. So I just don't. I think there might be, as much as I love it, a little bit of media hype, a little bit of a Cinderella story that might come to an end here. I have Texas big. The line is big accordingly. Go ahead and give me Texas minus 18.5 in this one.
There you go. Hey, Second time I've been a Vandy Island boy this season. Worked out all right for me last time. All right, moving on to our final game of the slate. It's the Oklahoma Sooners, 4-3 overall, 3-4 against the spread. Just slogging along, heading to Oxford to take on the Ole Miss Rebels, 18th in the country, 5-2 overall, and against the spread. Ole Miss favored by 20.5 here. You can find this one 11 a.m. Central on ESPN. Ty, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Ole Miss wins this one big. Fortunately, OU has decided to part ways with Seth Littrell. I think that is certainly a step in the right direction, but this Oklahoma ship is lost its seat. I don't know what's going on. We've talked about the offense a bunch. The defense as well is much improved for OU, but I don't think it's as good as OU fans really think that it is. And obviously time on the field and there's a bunch of other stuff, but statistically it's not the defense that OU fans think that it is. And again, there are some points there, but this OU team is very rapidly approaching team giving up stage. It sure feels a lot worse than 4-3. Honestly, kind of impressive to see 4-3 at this point with what we've seen from the team. But I think, unfortunately, this is going to be a big win at home for Ole Miss. Expensive tickets. It's going to draw a crowd. Would have been a much more fun environment for OU fans to visit if OU was going to be competitive at all. But this one has potential to legitimately be a shutout. It would not surprise me if we get shut out in this game. It's going to be bad. So go ahead and give me, for the sake of the weekend spread, Ole Miss minus 20.5.
This one worries me. I guess OU guys, just so I know the amount of information going into this before I select this pick, or any of these receivers coming back.
Can we do that? I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah, I don't know if
you
I
don't
can
have
do that
to.
either, Blake.
Let me tell you something what Brent Venables said in his press conference. He would love to see all of them on the field, and they really enjoy being here at Oklahoma. In a perfect world, we'd have them on the field.
To be honest, it was pretty close, even if they're all playing. I don't think this OU coaching staff knows what the F they're doing on the football field. It really is getting to that point. Brent Venables seems like a great guy. He seems like a defensive mastermind, but he is a defensive coordinator that is trying to run a program that it just feels like is too big for him. He's a great recruiter. I get that, but it just seems like this job has gotten away from him. He doesn't know how to make the most important thing that I've learned, after seeing two bad coaches kind of fade out with TCU in a row, here being it's all about the coordinators. You've got to be able to make good coordinator hires. And really that's the underrated thing. If you think about a Saban or somebody like that has been at the top, Saban was getting his coordinators poached every year. And sure, they had some down years, but he usually made it work most of the time. This OU team it's like the spread is so big because I'm not an Ole Miss guy. I think Ole Miss is vastly overrated, but I think this is more of my statement on what I think about OU right now, and I think it's just lost. That offensive line cannot block anything. I think Jackson Arnold gives you the best chance to win, but I don't think I think it's moving from 1% to 2%. If you look at their QBRs throughout the entire year, you're looking at pretty similar ones between him and Michael Hawkins. And Michael Hawkins had whatever that was in the first 3 drives against South Carolina. This one's bad. I'm going to take Ole Miss in the points just because they can show something against some of these lifeless teams. But I'm starting to get worried about OU. It's just, I'm not to the point. You got to give, with that buyout, you got to give Venables one more hire, but he better, he has to get this hire right immediately, or the pressure should be on him, because it's not acceptable. OU, I will get glaze OU a little bit. OU recruits fantastically. They get good guys in there. I've seen the potential of that program, and under Lincoln Riley, under Bob Stoops, it is there. It should not be going through, I don't care how hard your schedule is. They should look competitive in games. They're not even looking competitive in games right now. So I'm going to go Ole Miss. I would love if OU was going to pull a game. I know y'all play Mizzou, but this one would be absolutely hilarious to me, and I would love to see it pull off. But yeah, it just feels like this OU team just is lacking direction right now. It kind of lacks talent on the offensive line, which seems to be pretty detrimental to them.
Yeah. Blake, I'm going to go ahead and say this. If Ole Miss loses this game, if Lane Kiffin, off a bye week, loses to this Oklahoma team that is absolutely just falling apart at the seams, they should take him and his dog Juice to the tarmac and fire his ass there in Oxford. That is how bad it is, because Ole Miss has put all their chips in this basket. They put all their NIL. Everything is for the season. It's been a disappointment so far. And look, you still have Georgia coming to Oxford. That's your only one win. Like, if that's your one big win, you win out. That's good enough to get you in the playoff, I think. But like, if you lose to this Oklahoma team that is truly going through the desert, get him out of there, because he will never be the guy. So I'll say that about if they lose this game. But the question is, of course, will they cover? I also think they will, because this Ole Miss offense hasn't looked like itself recently. This is the perfect time to kind of get back, get a little bit of momentum going. I do think OU's defense is still pretty solid. They keep getting put in kind of compromised positions because of that bad offense, because of the calamitous decisions at times, the run of turnovers. All of that is awful. And it's also unfixable. You can say what you will about Seth Luttrell, but Joe John Finley, what you do with him, and I'm blanking on the Kevin Johns, like, who has only been here for a couple months, and hasn't been like working with guys directly until fall. Like, that's not going to be able enough to do an install to change anything fundamental about the offense. And you're not even going to be able to fix the biggest issue, which is the offensive line. There are no trades there. You cannot portal midseason. Obviously, it is what it is, and it is a dumpster fire. They whiffed on the portal. They just missed over and over again in recruiting, and it's quite possibly it's the biggest issue, and it's completely unfixable. Last week, I believe a program high 9 sacks allowed for the Sooners, and hey, guess what? With your get back, you're gonna have to deal with Walter Nolan and the boys for Ole Miss. It's a nightmare situation for OU. I expect them to get the doors blown off of them here. I hope I'm wrong. If they can avoid, turnovers, especially in rashes, maybe there's a chance you could keep this close. Maybe this Ole Miss offense doesn't or continues to look a little bit flat. You can stifle them a little bit, keep it close, but like relatively close. But the offense isn't going to do anything. Like, the offense cannot do anything. I don't care if you have Burks. I don't care if you have all of them. It's not going to get done. I don't see a path for this offense to have any sort of improvement. And yeah, it's a loss. It's a bad one. Ole Miss covers 20.5. So that's my call on it.
Ooh, Oklahoma is going to backdoor cover this at the fourth quarter, boys.
And you canceled your trip? And you canceled your trip with a backdoor cover?
Okay, backdoor cover as in we barely lose by basically 3 touchdowns.
Chris Paul takes the lead down to 52 energy. This is a 20.5 point spread, Blake. I agree with everything that y'all have said thus far. I would like to think that we don't start the game that we did versus South Carolina again in this game.
That was an all-time. Like, that was I will say this. I love y'all as people, but I was cackling on my couch. I was on my knees just cackling about how bad it had gotten. It was the ultimate just.
Before that game, Oklahoma has looked okay in the first quarter, trash in the second and third, and then okay in the fourth quarter. I think what we can do here is something
when other
similar.
Teams put their backups in.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. This is 20.5 points. This is a lot. I'm not talking up this Oklahoma team. I'm not trying to put in some cope and like, oh yeah, this is gonna turn around. No, Jojon Finley is not gonna make this offense any different. Any different. It's not gonna be better. It's not gonna be worse. It's gonna be the same because it doesn't matter. And don't talk about Kevin Johns. That's just mole. It's nothing.
Is Kevin Johns, he was the former OC at Northwestern, and like his 3 offenses were like 120, 121, and like 123 in
Blake, he was the OC at Duke last year.
Duke. Okay, that's what it was. Like, yeah, and I think wasn't he at Northwestern before? Was he?
Probably.
Am I lying about that?
Fitzgerald. No, he was with the Pat Fitzgerald teams.
And they their offenses were horrendous.
It did help Riley Leonard, I guess, but I mean,
Yeah, I get it. I think what's going to happen in this game is Deion Burks is going to go out there and he's going to hit the pregame warm-ups, Bobby. He's going to do a couple more dances on the sideline, and then he's not going to come out and play because he's going to be at 95% and he wants to be at 100%. And we're going to get really frustrated. This defense is at least going to show some things. It's going to be like 7-3 at the end of the first quarter. Then it's going to blow up at the end of the third quarter. It's going to be a 27-point game, backdoor cover touchdown. Jackson Arnold's going to stay in the whole game. We can't bench him, right? We're going to keep our foot on the gas as much as we can, even if we're using the trainer key. Essentially, we're going to try as hard as we can. I think we can just get a squeeze of backdoor cover in this. That's all I got for y'all.
The problem is Lane Kiffin, he does not let his foot off the gas. That is his one thing. He loves against inferior opponents. He loves to run up the score.
Mm-hmm.
Like he will be throwing it in the fourth quarter, and he will I guess if you're a donor or a bettor at Ole Miss, like they love Lane Kiffin because in bad games he will just run up the score.
That arguably helps OU though, because I feel like there's more of a chance for a turnover, something like that, when you're just kind of going.
I love this argument of Oklahoma this season. It's like I want that offense to start trying because we can finally score some points. If Kip Lewis gets another Kip 6 or we get a strip sack, like we got to make them try. When they get conservative, we can't put points on the board.
I mean, the Kip Lewis touchdown was what? So we had the touchdown last game, and then it was two touchdown or one touchdown ago.
Yeah, isn't
that's
wild?
Bad? That's awful. So all right, Jameson.
Wait, Blake, real quick before we move on, I want to hear you cackle again. Kevin Johns also responsible for that brilliant first Alan Bowman and what was his name, McLean Carter, and then that other guy at Texas Tech. He was their OC for that year.
Alan Bowman looked good as a freshman, Ty. He made him look good.
That's double collapse long experience.
What is this brain trust they've built there that is not even? I just can't believe you'd bring in OC and it's like this guy has never had elite offenses, but we want him on our offensive staff. Just put his little grubby little fingers all over it. I don't get it.
This is bad.
Like who cares?
Where did Jojon Finley come from?
Ole Miss. He was the tight end coach under Levy.
Oh,
but okay. he was OU's tight end in 2006.
Friends and family kind of hire. So
you got to clean house. You got to clean house.
The legacy hire pipeline at OU is insane, right?
Every coach is touching y'all at some point. Like
I know.
They're gonna fire Joe C. and Jojon Finley somehow going to get the athletic director position.
We need to actually take the program public so that we have a duty to hire based on merit and not just nepotism at this point.
Y'all are sneaky, not like it hasn't reached this level, but sneaky worse than Clemson. Like Clemson at least is just it's all Dabo's guys, but this is just like straight up.
Where do you think he got that idea?
It's Brent Venables doesn't know how to head coach. He doesn't know how to make a staff, so he just does what's comfortable for him, and it doesn't work. I'm sorry. If you listen to the pod that you weren't on, Ty, I am total anti Brent Venables. It's finally culminated to it.
Yeah.
I've repressed too many of my thoughts. That dude doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
When does hiring alma mater coaches work out? I feel like it always ends in some like big disastrous just they can't do the job. at all
What do you mean
positions.
other coaches?
Like just like ones
Scott,
like Scott Frost, like
Nebraska.
stuff like that. Like it just always feels like even at position levels, it just feels like it never works out that when you hire the guy that is like, oh, he's one of our own. They're part of a staff that gets fired.
Yeah.
It's not actually looking for talent. It's just looking for people you're familiar with.
Convenient Rolodex.
It does help for recruiting, though. I will say that.
It does, but as I've started to learn, recruiting matters, but you have to have like competent coaches to be able to roll these guys out on the field and do something with them.
There's some clout that if you go and you're like DeMarco Murray, former offensive NFL MVP, comes into your coaching room, and that's like we get Javonte Barnes from Nevada, stuff like that.
Yep. All right, let's do our favorite pick of the week.
The brakes working because I cut the brakes. Wild card, bitches! Yeah! What? Brakes, guys! I can't stop this fast.
It's time for the wild card picks, where we get to pick our favorite games not on the slate. We'll gander at the standings here. Ty and Jameson tied at the lead with 5-4. Boat and Blake at 4-5, and I'm sitting there at 2-7. It ain't much, but we're crawling on up. We're doing our best. I'm not sure if I'll have time to get to 500 by the end of the season, but them's the breaks. All right, Jameson, since you're in last place in the overall standings, you go first. Who do you like?
I'm not going to say anything until someone apologizes, and I'm just going to stare. You can't see where my eyeballs are, so you don't know who I'm talking about. So I'm just going to sit there, and I'm going to stare at them until they say something.
Okay.
For the sake of podcasting, you're going to have to mention who it is.
Yeah.
Say it, Ty. Apologize for what you did.
I am sorry, beloved viewers and listeners of the Schooner Pod, that Jameson still has not been made to repent for his Nick Saban does not matter take. There will be an edit released at the end of the season after they lose to both Mizzou and Oklahoma. It's explaining why that take. No.
What I want you to do is apologize for what you need to apologize for.
The Boko. I thought this was about.
Thank you.
Thing. Yes. No, I knew what I was doing. I'm not ashamed. I'm not beyond sacrificing Boko for the sake of the game.
This Boko team is just aight.
I'm so upset.
You can't do what they did against Old Dominion and then still fonder aight. They're bad. They're stank. They're back.
They're just okay. They are a decent team. They are not anything special.
I am in anger. Okay, sorry, they're not on the slate this week. So the to my little wild card segment. For the past 3 weeks, have just been picking dirty things. I look down and I say, you know what? Stop looking for the sake of like skill and everything. Pick something really dirty and you're going to enjoy it. I picked that ULM JMU, and then I really liked the ULM. Went back to the well with Southern Miss. And then last week, once again, I picked Temple versus Tulsa, and I got laughed off the pod for that. Like, Temple controlled that game from start to finish. That was an easy pick. No sweat on that one. I'm going to do something really dirty, something almost taboo in the college football betting world, and I don't care because I think this is really fun. I'm going to pick Nevada -1 on island at Hawaii at the midnight Eastern time game. I'm not going to give analysis because if you look into it, Nevada's quarterback might not be playing and you might get Chuba hurry. But I just don't care because it's too funny to pick against Hawaii on island as a home dog. Give me Nevada -1.
Okay, wow, that's quite the take right there. Look, and while you're going out there, I'm 2-7. I don't have the luxury of that. And like anyone who is down, you got to play the hits where it works. I have 2 wins. Obviously, last time out was TCU. They're on the slate. Can't pick them. We're going back to the well. We're going. I know Kurt works right. I'm going to go with Indiana -6.5 at home. College game day in Bloomington for the first time ever. And look, Rourke, like him getting hurt really does suck. That he was a great integral part of the offense. Missed the whole second half. Indiana looked fine. This Washington team is also awful. Anytime you're jumping time zones like this, it's been a harbinger of doom for Big Ten teams. You've seen it over and over again. And I don't think airport quarterback Will Rogers really is much at all at Washington. So I like Indiana at home, big environment. I like them to get the win and the cover at Hoosiers -6.5.
I thought this week I was going to put up a stink about a game that I thought should be on the slate, but I backed off. I backed off just because I knew I could put it right here. A nice little Big 12 game that the line makes no sense to me, and I'm probably choosing the opposite way that I should when the line doesn't make sense to me, but I don't care. I've seen enough of this team to be magic. It's BYU +1.5 versus UCF. Yes, they are getting points. UCF is a favorite. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, UCF had the great game last week versus Iowa State, almost pulled that one out, but I've seen them countless time and time again this season just come up way short. They don't seem to have the juice. It might be quitting time soon on Gus Malzahn, so maybe I'm hopping in on it there, but BYU's just teaching me something. There's some magic, there's some voodoo around that program. As somebody sent, they are built off the power of friendship and cougar tales. Like, this team makes no sense. I thought they were dead whenever OSU scored with that Brennan Presley touchdown with like 30 seconds left, 40 seconds left. It did not faze BYU. They drove down surgically in 20 seconds and scored. They just are not rattled. They seem to have their head on straight. This team feels like a little bit of a miracle team. It seems like a team that, although all the metrics are not showing, although there's a team like that every year, as Washington last year, as TCU the year before, although the metrics don't show, although the power ratings say this team is way worse than their actual results are being, they just keep winning games. And you're giving me 1.5 and a UCF crowd that doesn't seem to be as interested as of lately. I'm going to take BYU. I'm riding that magic wave. So Jake Retzloff has looked fantastic. He actually can make passes. So yeah, so that was an easy one. I thought it should have replaced Cincinnati, Colorado, but I saw an opportunity.
I saw this one. It did not make any sense to me. I was like, that is a BYU slam. That's a BYU.
I saw Bobby's face when I said BYU was an underdog in this versus UCF. I was like, yep, it does not make any sense to me.
Yeah, that astonishingly weird. Wow. Ty, who do you like on your wild card?
Ooh, I like that one that Blake had. I kind of like it wasn't on the slate because we all would have just gone the same. But it is unfortunate that we're just going to lob him a win there. But yeah, that BYU team, Blake, I think you said it last week. They have that TCU energy from, 2022, where it's just that impossible, that beautiful college football story, at least up until now. Unfortunately, I am not going to be bringing y'all a beautiful story. I'm going to be bringing you quite the opposite of a beautiful story. It's a story of stank. It's a story of gross. It's a story of a game you don't even want to watch. It's a story of a game that the media is going to try to convince you is a meaningful game. It's not. You guys are going to hate this. It's the battle for the Paul Bunyan Trophy. That's right. We're picking Michigan versus Michigan State. We're going two teams racing to rock bottom. This should be called the race to rock bottom. I love Michigan -5 in this one because Michigan State. Here's the crazy thing too.
I've got -4 for you.
This
on
game.
Bet.
That's what
I might even give you a pick on.
Sorry, I was looking at open. Yeah, so -4 now. -4 for Michigan. I was looking at the open line. Sorry, according to ESPN Bet, which is what we use for this. As of time of recording, which is about 7:33 my time on Tuesday. But these teams are stanky. These teams are both going down. Funny enough, this game is basically 500 since both teams joined the Big Ten in 1950. And even funnier than that, prior to joining the Big Ten, Michigan just straight up refused to play this game outside of their own stadium. So they basically only played in the Big House, and Michigan was just nominally not the home team. even though they played at their own stadium. They just bullied Michigan State into coming there, which is hilarious. But I just don't believe in Michigan State. But this is always a good one. This always has the crazy, 2022 with that brawl in the tunnel. 23, obviously a ton of controversy surrounding Michigan. Like 2020, they played on Halloween, a big upset. But I think Michigan's going to pull it out. They care about this one, and it's one that they can win. The other ones that they care about, unwinnable at this point. But I just feel like this one is going to be Michigan coming out actually impressing. The stats for this one, you pull it up on ESPN and you look at the season leaders. Michigan State's quarterback, 6 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Michigan's season leader quarterback, which is Warren, is 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. This is not going to be a good football game to watch. This is going to be Jamison. Keep this off. All 5 of your TVs, keep it off. Don't put it on any of your TVs, regardless of the time slot. This is a stanky game, but go ahead and give me Michigan -4 just for the stank.
Yeah. Jameson's going to have to be pulling up Tubi to watch anything but that. So just whatever you do, not that game.
Any good shows to rewatch on Netflix? He's going to have One Tree Hill on the on one of the TVs or something.
That's what you pull out?
Love is Blind.
I saw like a Good Morning America special on it this morning. So it was
Love is Blind was Virginia, Northern Virginia this season.
Oh,
it's a bad season so far.
It is very bad.
Yeah,
all the people suck.
They all suck.
Did y'all see? There's now Love is Blind wine. It's called. I saw it at On Cue the other day. It was like,
is it?
I thought it was like a spin-off show called Love is Blind Wine. I'm like, what does that look like?
Just make
it's just wine. It's branded Netflix wine that you can drink. I think it's
gold?
from Barefoot. Yes.
Oh, great. Yum.
It is gold.
Barefoot, the wine of NFL.
Well, not the wine itself. The wine itself isn't gold. The bottle's gold.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes. We're an hour and a half in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby.
Well,
I don't know, Jameson. You never know what people will do these days. Let's move on to talk about our Week 10 slate. It's dodgy. I'm like missing a spot, but we got a couple of big ones. Ohio State at Penn State should be interesting. Pittsburgh SMU, that'll be probably interesting.
No, that is actually okay. That's
actually a very good one.
Anything to not to be gassing up anything SMU's related to, but this one has very serious implications for the ACC title race. There is a potential scenario because I don't believe Miami, Clemson, or SMU play each other. Those 3 teams could go all undefeated, and then they have to be sorted out in some tiebreaker. It's
coin flip.
I don't understand how the ACC got away with just I guess they want their title game to be good, but just the big dogs are never playing each other. And I don't think these are surprising ones either. I think we knew Miami was going to be good. We knew Clemson was going to be towards the top, and people had SMU as one of their dark horse people. So I don't know how they avoid playing one another.
Yeah, it's going to be wild for sure. Wow. And then also Oregon at Michigan, Ole Miss, Arkansas, TCU, Baylor. You got the
rivalry,
whatever y'all are calling that,
Blue Bonnet Battle, or whatever, whatever
awful name. Playing for the wooden Captain American shield.
I was looking it up a picture from one of the old ones a few days ago, and the Google AI thing popped up the Blue Bonnet Battle on me, and I about raged. I was like, even the AI is trying to convince me this is a thing, and it's not. It's the rivalry. Always has been.
It's a rivalry. Yep. All right, well, that's our Week 9 slate. Hard to believe we're in the double digits already, but looking forward to continuing to power through the college football season. We'll be back next week. See y'all. Good luck out there, everybody.